Alright, Beep, let's do this. First thing first, the name LUI. Secondly, the game. It is the game of bodybuilding. Thirdly, the subject of this video, the crucifixion of Cal, one of the most dramatic bodybuilding event ever. Politics who plague bodybuilding until today. They were alive and well back in the 70s, baby please, and they were the very reason to end the short career of this genetic marvel. A dude who was already dominating bodybuilder killed mainly because of politics. Let's take a look of his story. Crucifixion of Carl because of this dramatic and sad pictures taken at the very end of his short career, merely at 25. He was an Hungarian giant coming from Hungary, and he was dominating the sport. This picture, but even by today's standards, bro, it looks like Adobe games. Look at the proportion of these arms. Look at the chest. He was deemed to be the very replacement of the very best of them all, namely Arnold Schwarzenegger. Look at these arms, bro. Absolutely stupendous. He was only 24 in this picture. He was already in magazine covers. Look at the midsection. Absolute sight to be seen. Even by, he was ahead of his game. Even by 80s, 90s standards, he was looking just proper. So cover of magazine, he was the talk of the day. Everybody loved him, and certainly the big boss, namely the godfather of them all, the godfather of bodybuilding, namely the master blaster Joe Weider, was all over this guy. Arnold Schwarzenegger was retired after 75, as you guys know. He won in Pretoria versus Lou Ferrigno and the French guy Serge Nubret. So this guy was all set to be the very image, the very face of bodybuilding, who would win Mr. Olympias in a row, and he would basically be the golden boy of bodybuilding. So everybody was all over him. Look at this magazine. Salak makes critics eat their words. I'm gonna tell you why, because he has beaten some big names in bodybuilding, and he won the Mr. Universe. So they give him this title actually in this magazine. Look at the most muscular poses, baby please. This was pretty much in his last dramatic show. And you guys remember this picture, this following one, a black and white resembling that of Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was already being, groomed somehow and prepared to be the next champion. You can see here front double biceps. This was one of his first shows when he killed pretty much everybody. And then, of course, he was invited. Story says the same night, actually, he went to compete in the Mr. Universe. You guys will recognize, these faces. The late Joe Weider, like the master blaster, the godfather, the starter of this IFBB, of this bodybuilding, basically a frenzy and in industry in a sense. For the record, this guy actually lived and was born in my city here, actually, in Montreal, and alongside his brother Ben Weider, who also passed away just lately. Actually, these guys, they were dominating bodybuilding for pretty much ever. They call it Joe Weider's Olympia and so on, as you guys know. So they started a business, a small business of basically developing and constructing some simple old machinery apparatuses for people to train. There were no gyms even back then in Montreal. So they started basically to produce small dumbbells, barbells, and so on before moving to California and starting their big business. So they started right here in Montreal, Canada. Danny Padilla is next to them, one of the very first giant killers, and certainly a known face. You guys know this guy, may he rest in peace. Right, him and his brother were basically known. This is Mike Manzer. So the three guys alongside Cal Zalak, were selected to be in the U.S. team back in the day to compete in Mr. Universe. But proceed, haha, shall we? This guy was deemed to have one of the best chests ever, again reminiscent of Arnold Schwarzenegger himself. The arms were stupendously developed, front double biceps, baby, please. And in this competition, you can see him again next to Mike Menzer, and guess what? Guess what? He has that. He won the Mr. Universe at merely 24 years old. But then again, this was very dramatic because, of course, as I said, the Master Blaster, namely the Godfather, the domination of bodybuilding was under this guy, again, Mr. Joe Weider. And story goes to say that during the same night when he won the Mr. Universe, he had a very big argument, like words exchange. He was very, actually, opinionated person. And story goes to say that Joe Weider did not keep his word when it comes to the payment of pictures. That they agreed on a certain amount, and the story goes to say that Joe Weider said, "Damn you, the price is not that. I'm gonna reduce the price." So Cal Zalak went into the studio. He walked into the studio and he ripped off the pictures himself and said, "Damn you, I'm walking out of here." He did that versus Joe Weider. Nobody stood up to Joe Weider in bodybuilding ever before this guy. And you know what? He did not stop right there. He wanted to create a bodybuilding union. So he invited several bodybuilders and they went to a hotel and there was panic everywhere. And story goes to say that Arnold, who loved this guy because he used to train with them actually in the Gold Gym, story goes to say, Arnold said, "Okay, I'm going to support you. I'm going to support you guys when you will start your union," and so on. And when they met actually at a hotel, right, there were bodybuilders there. Arnold came in late, about 30 minutes late. And there was also Ben Weider. Ben is the brother again of this one. Ben was the president of the IFBB. And that project was somehow crushed. And Arnold somehow, when he saw that the union was not being created, supposedly he changed sides. He went back with the Weiders because again Arnold was retired somehow. He was only doing promotions and trying to start a movie career. So long story short, Cal stayed on his own and politics kicked in, right? The establishment hated him. So when it came Mr. Olympia, a very dramatic one, 1978, he was competing versus several guys, amongst which Frank Zane. Now back then, there were two categories, baby, please. There was like the under 200 pounds and the over 200 pounds, which was kind of an open. Just like nowadays we have the 212. Back in the day, there was the under 200 and the over 200. So needless to say, this guy was competing in the under 200. But then again, I mean, this guy, you put him next to Cal Zalak, with all due respect, I mean, his aesthetic with Cal Zalak was smoking him. And everybody was thinking that Cal Zalak will be the next Mr. Olympia. So he competed one of his best shapes ever, in his best shape. Very massive, way ahead of his game back then. But unfortunately, politics kicked in. And they gave him number 5. Everybody was, wow, what is going on? How can you give this guy number 5? He was Mr. Olympia. And then he did this pose like, you crucify me because of politics. And this was the very last time we saw him in an Olympia stage. And he was merely 25. Again, they gave Mr. Olympia to Frank Zane back then, but it was quite dramatic. You can see this last cover, 1978 Olympia, dramatics, and drama it is. So that's what's up. This was the short-lived career of Cal Zalak, known to basically the fans of bodybuilders. I mean, the old school guys all know about this guy. If you tell them about Cal, they'll tell you it is the crucifixion of Cal. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video and tell me what you guys think about it, and tell me if you remember the very dramatic crucifixion of Cal.